he will be up in a minute. I'll just give you a little bit of an introduction. So, as you know from the various credits there, Jean-Paul Beauvais has been doing a lot of colour work for IGO over the years, including probably one of the most challenging jobs in modern colouring in Regeneration 1, where he's trying to marry modern colouring against the sort of horrible four-colour printed in newspaper things that us old farts grew up with. So he's going to take me through a massive journey of, as David said, this arcane witchcraft, because a lot of it is mind-boggling to see what has to go in to make these things work. So Jean-Paul is going to basically tell you all, well, not all of his secrets, because I think he wants to still get work, but enough so you might be able to start doing it. So please welcome to the stage Mr. Jean-Paul Beauvais. I'll leave the audience in your capable hands. No swearing, no nudity, no bombing.
Oh, well, I'm
not headed there.
This is not what I was promised. Right, good morning everybody, thank you for being here. I'm amazed there's as many people as there are on 11 o'clock on the Friday. Anyone here hungover?
Yes.
Just the children put their hands up. Right, thank you for coming. So, being a colourist is an interesting job and sometimes a weird one. I've done talks before at some of these where I've kind of gone, oh, this is how I colour, and I've done a live demonstration. But it's a bit difficult because a lot of the time with colours you're just sort of, it's quite boring really. So having you join me on that process is a bit like, sorry, you're just going to have to wait for this all to be kind of flattered in. So today what I mainly want to do, other than pace around and probably trip over this chair about 8 times, which is my gift. Me and gravity have a difficult relationship, and gravity usually wins. But anyway. So, but what I wanted to do was kind of talk you through the process a little bit of what I do and what my thought process is as I'm doing it. And along the way I'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff perhaps I've never talked about before in terms of how I got my break on Regeneration 1. And also some of the mistakes I made along the way. So I will also reveal some secrets. So, you know, I'm just saying that Simon Furman, right? Where was he in 1888 in the East End of London? No one knows. Right? Have you ever seen Simon Furman and Jack the Ripper at the same time? No, exactly, right? Using the law of the internet, because I believe it to be true, it's true, okay? So, there'll be stuff like this you just will not be able to believe, for good reason. So, welcome to my talk. The 4 colours that you basically use when comics are printed are cyan, magenta, yellow and K, which is short for black, which makes perfect sense. So, welcome to Colouring Schmollering, or 64 Shades of CMYK. I am the occasionally credited colourist, Jean-Paul Beauvais. Many books forget to put my name on, I understand. People forget my name all the time. It was a very difficult wedding day when my wife was like, I've forgotten, but I'll say thank you. So, don't say, oh, that was meant to be funny. So, welcome to my TED talk, basically. Today, I will not swear, as I've promised that I won't, and I believe there's a court order that insists that I mustn't. So, but this is what comics is. So basically, when you're colouring a picture, you probably don't think about this when you're reading a comic. And what I'm hoping is that when you do read a comic next, you'll hopefully be able to like pull out an extra layer of enjoyment out of it from what we'll talk about. So there's 4 main missions that I'm trying to do when I colour a book, which is to establish the mood. Okay, so when you watch a film, you know, someone will have lit that scene. They'll have chosen colours for that scene. They'll decide whether it's blurry or bright or dark or whatever. So you're trying to set a mood. You're trying to create depth. When you look out the window of the Hilton and you look out at the lake or whatever might be there, there is haze. And the further back you go, that kind of says that, you know, colours are less rich in the distance. You're also on a comic book page trying to lead your eye around the page, hopefully in the order that your eye focuses on the most important thing first, and then you move on to lesser important things. And you're trying to help tell the story. So for those of you that don't know me especially well, I started out, and still indeed write. So I write comic books, and when I was trying to break into comics, I was writing comics And I knew people who could ink and pencil, but I didn't know anyone who coloured. So I thought, well, I'll give that a go, I guess, because I want my books in colour. The first time I tried to colour a comic book one single panel, I think it took me 8 or 9 hours. As time would go on, sometimes I would have, I remember getting a Doctor Who book that was running insanely late, and I think I had 45 minutes a page to try and get that book out on time, which if you'd have asked me, can you do a page in 45 minutes before that, I'd have said, no, it's impossible. But somehow it got done. So, for those of you who don't know comics terribly well, it's a multi-stage process. You've got someone that writes a script, and I will go through a little breakdown of this later on. You've got someone who pencils it. So, then you've got someone who inks it. So the inker basically makes it nice, clean, black and white artwork so that it's easier to put colour on. And then you've got, at the end of the process, there is also letterers, but we've only got so much time. You've got colourists. So, as you can imagine, my life is, what you have is a deadline. So the deadline is, let's say it's the edge of this. And a process that works nicely until this runs late and pushes into here, and then that runs late and it pushes into here, and then that runs late, and all of a sudden I'm up against this bit. So colouring can be quite a challenge because you're often the person that makes sure the book gets out on time. And that's not to give any disrespect to anybody else, because life and challenges and, Hasbro might have had notes or require changes. There's lots of reasons why things run late. So this is a colour wheel. I'm not going to go into the theory super on this, but basically, when you colour a book, a lot of times what you'll notice is that they're using complementary colours, so colours that are kind of next to each other, or opposites for making their colours with. Now when I did Shattered Glass, a lot of the time, I would go for opposites. So if the character was kind of like greenish, they might end up red or purple or whatever. But colour theory is you don't want too many colours jarring next to each other, etc. That's one way of colouring, and it's a sensible thing to do. Let's have a look at what you could have won. It's a caravan full of Andrew Wildman art pages that we lost for 40 years. So again, for anybody under the age of 45, this will be meaningless, and you'll think, he's lost his mind, there's some kind of cartoon ox, what's happening, can someone get him medicine? And you'd be right to do so. So I don't know why this is quivering, this is really eerie. Oh, Primus has gone bonkers. So to give a sense of what my mission is when I'm colouring, so this is what I get. So I get this kind of black and white page. My next process is to figure out just what the solid colours are. So it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong at this stage, but I just put them in. And then as you can see as we go along, what I'm doing is trying to bring drama, trying to bring like some energy to the page. I've got other examples that will explain this better as we go along. But just to say, it starts here, it ends there. My mission is to get it from there to there. And I'll talk about the thought processes of how we get there. What I wanted to do was start by talking about my Regeneration 1 journey, because that's really where I've done a couple of bits of Transformers before that, but Regen was my big thing. If you're listening, is anyone here listening to the Restless Giant Robots podcast? Excellent. Oh, enthusiastic way to back in. So where Andrew and Simon kind of go through Transformers really from the beginning. And last month or the month before, we've been doing Regeneration 1, which brought back a lot of memories for me. So what started Regeneration 1, for those of you who don't know, was the continuation of the original Marvel G1 story. And obviously it was going to have Simon Furman writing it, because I think he's had something to do with Transformers before. Either that or he knew someone and he just talked his way in, I don't know. And Andrew was going to be drawing it, and Baskerville was going to be inking it, so you basically had, the dream team involved, and they were like, well, but someone's got to cover it. So, now, one thing you need to know about me, there's lots and lots, almost the Transformers comic people are sort of a family. We all kind of know each other. We all kind of, admire each other. And I'm not good at asking for work. I'm not going to go, oh, could you please consider me for X, Y, Z or whatever. When they announced Regeneration 1, and they went, oh, it's Andrew and Simon and whatever, my tiny little heart went, and I contacted IDW and I said, look, Chris Ryle, who was the editor of IDW at the time, I said, you know, I get you've got really talented people, and you might have someone in mind, I don't know, but just to say, there is literally nothing that could mean more to me than this book. Please, could you at the very least, can I do samples or something, because like this would be a dream. And so one of the things I did was samples. So initially, what's worth bearing in mind is the old school colours, which we'll talk about a bit later on, look very different. And they were like, we don't want to go full retro, never go full retro. But they didn't know what they wanted, which is always great when someone says, give me something, but I'm not specifically sure what. No pressure, carry on, you might lose this job if you get it wrong. So I did a couple of different versions. So these were, I don't think I've shared these, but these were just example colours to see what it could look like. So Baskerville had done some inks to say this is what the inks could look like, and I did some colours. And I tried different things, so it's slightly modernised with the old background stuff, a little bit older looking. I tried a sepia version. So again, when I talk about bringing focus, when you've got a single colour behind, Optimus Prime kind of pops a little bit better than when you've got lots and lots of colours. So I kind of did, I think I might have done 3 different versions of this. This is where I might find out I've got pictures of about 8, but anyway. And of course Optimus Prime has his blue forearms, because that's where we saw him last. To which Andrew went, why has he got blue arms? And I went, oh, they're blue at the end of the comic. I went, oh, I've forgotten that. So they decided they wanted a classic looking Optimus, so back to the red arms. And then young Turnbull, wherever he is he here? He's gone, oh yeah. He basically said, you've done the arms wrong. No, I haven't. Anyway, so this was the first page. So they said, can you do, I did that cover, oh this one here, and they were like, yeah, that's really good. Andrew Wilde was like, I'm really happy with this, welcome on board, okay? Dream made, history forever. Then John Barber, the editor, emails and goes, yeah, can you do another one? Can you do another sample? Because like the cover's a bit different, I want to see what the inside might look like. Oh, okay. So I went from, it's mine, to, oh no, it could all still go terribly wrong. And it did go terribly wrong, because this was what I submitted as my suggested thing. Now, at the time, I was just trying to see what would work. I was using some of the modern techniques, but it's a bit dark, it's a bit muddy. They came back and were like, it's good, but it's not the one we're looking for. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a shame, oh dear. And I suddenly felt like, okay, this is about to slip through my fingers, this is bad, okay, this is bad. So, I still had a day job, and I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning doing, I think, 6 different versions of this page. Because they still didn't, they said, we don't want this, but we don't know what it is we do want. Okay, cool, yeah, no problems. So yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning, and so I did, these are the many versions. So I did one that was, as you can see, so that last one was a bit sort of muddy and dark and whatnot. So this one, I kind of went back, I looked at the old comic and I was like, there's a lot of the backgrounds in the old comic are just white. So I was like, you can't just put it in fully white because it's not going to look right. So I was like, I'll do this kind of light grey and some shines and different bits. So I tried that, and I did a version that was a little bit bluer, and then I did a version that was a lot bluer, and I did another version that was darker. And what they decided, they liked the second one I did. There are another 6 of these probably that I did, but you don't know what they're going to like. And the thing that got me the job in the end was what the editor said was, ooh, the one thing I'm not sure about is why is Optimus Prime, but the behind him is like a completely different colour than the rest of the scene. And being outside the scene, if you've heard the term non-diegetic, like when music plays in a film, but it's coming from the film, that's non-diegetic. And my answer was, he's kind of looking out here, so he's gazing out at the stars. Because the story that we're trying to tell is that Optimus Prime is not in the same headspace as the other people in this room. They are bringing him a problem, and his head is in the clouds. So that was the moment where John Barber went, welcome aboard. So thank you. And spoilers, I still haven't been to bed. So yeah, so that was it. So I was fortunate with this book that about 4 or 5 scripts had been written in advance, and about, I think, maybe 2 issues had been drawn, which gave me a chance to plan. So like I said, you've got colour theory, you've got putting colours against other colours, but I wanted to use colours to tell the story. So there are certain themes that I use colour for in Regen 1. So, like when I've told people this, they go, oh, I didn't realise that, and I'm like, yeah, you're not. If you draw too much attention to it, or you know it in advance, then it's sort of like seeing how the sausage is made. But one of the things, because I knew what was coming, red became Megatron's colour in this book. So if you see a red sky, it is because Megatron is nearby. Okay, he's present. If they're talking about Megatron, there's a little bit of red in the sky to sort of say he's close, to build this kind of sense of dread that's going on. So wherever there's red, there's Megatron in the first part. There are spoilers if you haven't read Regen 1, which at this point, I feel like I'm not going to be too upset if I spoil this for you, because it's 13 years or something, 14. So yeah, so you can see, and obviously the light's shining a bit on this, but the sky's sort of orange to yellow, and as they get closer to Megatron, because that's where they're heading, the sky gets progressively more red in tone. So that was my way of saying, you're heading in the direction of danger. So again, red, 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 red. The other thing I knew that was coming, and I'm not sure if it's in this, you can't really see it in this, but I knew there was a climactic fight coming between Megatron and Optimus Prime, and I knew it was going to be I knew how I wanted it to end. So a lot of this so none of this is in the script, I hasten to add, so this isn't something that someone put in the notes and said, John Paul, please can you think too much about what colour the sky would be. But I knew there was going to be a fight. So in this scene, the sky started to be peppered with some grey clouds. And the reason for that being that when Optimus Prime is like, you killed Springer, spoilers, I'm going to have you, we start to get storm clouds. Because what I wanted to sell in this scene, what I wanted to happen is, this is Optimus Prime, he is slowly kind of losing his moral compass. He is at the point where everything is black and white. He is going to make a decision whether or not to kill Megatron. So, I knew I was building to it, so you start to see the lightning coming. There's some flashes in the background. Because when we get to the moment, it's like, am I going to end your life or not? At this point, Prime is practically black and white. So this is so what I'm trying to do through the colours is tell you his emotional state, tell you where his moral compass is, tell you like this is a serious moment. So, you know, when we get to here, it is like, will he or won't he? And he did. And the other thing I wanted was for it to rain at the end. So again, not in the script, and I did ask Simon, this is what I want to do. I want to build to this storm, and when he's taken the decision to kill Megatron, that there is effectively grief. So, if any of you are fans of Shakespeare or anything like that, it's called a pathetic fallacy when the weather emulates the character's emotions. It's a tried and tested trope in TV and film. You know, storm clouds when someone's angry, etc. But anyway, so that was part of my logic, that was part of my thinking for that. And there were other little bits. So, I used the colour blue to signify the Matrix. But also, one of the themes of Regeneration 1 is that Prime was supposed to be dead, and that Rodimus was supposed to be the leader. That Prime coming back was sort of an unnatural aberration in this story. So one of the things I often did was, you'll see, and in fact it's in this scene, you've got a bit of blue, kind of a bit of a blue highlight behind Optimus Prime, that sort of passes on to be behind Hot Rod in this scene. So there's a lot of this notion of the hero who didn't get called. So I used blue on a number of occasions to suggest, like, this is the guy. He was supposed to be the guy. Again, you're not meant to read it and go, and it'd be obvious, but these are the sorts of thoughts that keep me up at night. And also, for me, they make the story worth telling. To be a collaborator and help tell Simon and Andrew's tale. And again, here's so blue and green. Rodimus later on appears as a blue hologram, which is very specific. The reason for that is the matrix he's chosen now. And Optimus Prime appears as a green hologram because green is the colour of the dark matrix kind of energy. So again, it's little subtle clues. Optimus Prime is startled by the appearance of this blue hologram, and Prime appears as this kind of sickly colour. Again, just to sort of tell you what's coming. So, Fort Max being corrupted. Anyone here seen Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared? Green is not a creative colour. So green is a creative colour that I use for this one. And basically Fort Max is corrupted by this thing. So whenever green sort of features prominently, it's an indication that that thing is present. Now, every now and again, when you try to be respectful of the original source material, you end up in a situation with a browny orange background and browny orange characters in front of the background, which I refer to as brown loading. And sometimes you just think, I should have just changed the colour of that corridor to be something else. But I was like, oh, but in the comics, that corridor leading to Primus is sort of brown, so I have to keep him brown. But it is just an ugly sort of colour. But you know, I just want you to know that sometimes I'm thinking of you and the errors page of the wiki. So this corridor was originally brown in colour and you've done it blue. Right, so it's brown. But it's brown with brown and more brown. And then there's Victorion, who has a colour scheme that no human, but this is what AI would choose as a colour scheme. Okay? It might be your favourite character and that's fine. All I'm telling you is that every time I had to colour any character in Victorian, I felt like my eyes were bleeding. Okay? It's this together is a no. No. Please no. But those are the colours those characters are. So the other thing is sense of place. Okay, that's one of the things we're trying to do with colours. So hopefully, without you really consciously thinking about it, it should be clear that this kind of dimly lit environment with its green screens is different kind of to this snowy environment, to this darkened interior, to you know, so this, I put these beams of kind of God rays coming in to give this sense of this abandoned space. And again, we've got, you know, this kind of almost monochromatic area here, which hopefully you understand is a very different place than where this is, where you've got some warmth in the sky. So again, you try to vary the colour schemes for locations so that you get a sense, okay, I was here and now I'm somewhere else, without having lots of captions everywhere. And I try to be consistent, so one of the main locations where Prime's tower is, has got these spotlights firing into the sky. So to give you that sense of place, you know, I put those spotlights in there. So you know you're near there, but not too near there. So adding depth. Now, this is when it's inked, and Baskerville's inks are quite thick and heavy and luscious and everything else. So what you tend to have is, where you've got lots of solid black, I think if you look at this from wherever you're looking at it from, it can be a bit hard to tell what's what and where something is relative to somewhere else. So what I do, first thing is, so if you look at flipping between the 2 points, so what I'm trying to do is give shape, and again, yellowish creatures, brown background. So you do things that, it's actually quite hard to see in this particular image with the lights on, but this kind of black has been, I put a little bit of haze on it to make things pop. And then, again, green, what did green mean? There you go. I think there's some wrong answers in there as well, but I'm just going to agree with all of you because it's internet rules. As long as you believe it, it's true. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the scenes that I did for issue 0, which have a lot of things, but I wanted to show you something that only Simon Furman has ever seen. and he, like me, is a giant child. I did 2 versions of this, and I was like, there's one where his eyes are glowing a bit, because he's waking up, and then there's this one. And Simon Furman said, I've just spent the last 5 minutes doing this. I've still got 4 minutes and 38 to go of this, guys. But as you can see, it tells a different story depending on which one you choose, and there's consequences depending on which you choose. Is he literally about to wake up this second, or is he stirring, which is more dramatic? I think we went for this one, from memory. But again, it's choices. You make choices with the colours, and that impacts how you perceive it as a story. And so again, using colour to tell story. In this scene, what you have, the main panel at the bottom here, is Shockwave, after having been integrated into the art for a couple of decades, has finally become an individual again. So I thought, sunrise. You know, it's birth of the dawn of a new day, birth of a new life. Not in the script, nothing on the page to say it has to be that. But for me, I was helping tell the story that Simon wrote. And when you have got a creative team that works well together, they give you the room to be creative as well. They can say no, you know, oh that's too far, that's too much. And you know, at the beginning, when we were trying to figure out what the colours were, there were lots of, yeah, no, there's too much, whatever, not enough of this. But as time went on, you know, they trusted me to make decisions that would work for the book and would enhance what they were doing. You know, there's no, in a comic book, you're a team. Okay, no, everyone knows you've got to pull together or the whole thing falls apart. So again, dark matrix creatures. So again, if you think about that scene where we saw him waking up and it was all green, hopefully your storytelling mind will go, well, there's no green in that room anymore. And we've got this kind of empty light coming in. So hopefully, subconsciously, your mind is telling you, yeah, he doesn't live there anymore. And of course, here at the end, he emerges from the sort of oily lake. But again, we're trying to help tell the story. Are there any questions? I should have some questions this time. Who are you? Why are you here? Is this the Christian conference? Yes?
You said you were a writer before you went to college.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the classes involved. You were coloring and that was tell the story as it wasn't a writer.
Yeah. Okay, so just, so the question there is do you think that being a writer, how much did being a writer influence how you colour? And the simple answer is massively. So because I started from the position of, I knew I was going to colour the story I was writing. So I would always have in my head, this is part of the storytelling process, this is going to be like this. And stuff that I've done that's creative, or I've also lettered it or whatever else, I also knew what I was going to do in the letters. When you're dealing with somebody else's script, my mind is always thinking, okay, how can I, obviously you got to wait for the artwork, but how am I going to tell this story using that? So what I would say is using storytelling to colour sometimes means you end up with colour choices that might seem a bit odd if you were thinking purely from a complementary or contrasting colour. So, but there's no right way to do it. There's lots of wrong ways, but there isn't one right way. So one decision that I made. I do have a couple of contributions that I made to Regen that were different. So originally, at the end, Simon's original storyline had Rodimus fighting Optimus and Grimlock and Jetfire, I believe, if I remember correctly at the end. And I don't normally give ideas or opinions, particularly to people who I admire massively and know what they're doing. And I went, oh, Simon, just a thought. Could you, do you think it would be a good idea? Please don't hurt me. Because there have been 3 Optimus Primes that all got in some way tainted by the Dark Matrix. You got Powermaster who got blown up by it, you got Prime's corpse who had it residing within him for a bit, and then you've got the current one. So could we have 3 Optimus Primes versus Rodimus at the end? And Simon was like, I'll have that. So I was very, and I have to say, it was also quite selfish, because Powermaster Prime is my favourite thing ever. And I was like, does this mean Andrew Wildman and Guido and Jeff might draw it, and I'll get to colour it? So I'm not completely altruistic in this one. But one of the things I did, has everyone here seen Superman 3? It's our favourite, yes. We all love Richard Pryor. One of the things they did in that film, which is subtle, you may or may not notice it, when Superman goes bad, he's flicking his peanuts at the mirror, his outfit colour is a darker blue. It's a dirtier blue and a dirtier red. Bad Superman has a different set of blue and red. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have some bad Optimuses. They are going to be Superman 3 Optimuses. They're going to be, it's not a nice bright red and it's not a rich blue. It's kind of muckier and dirtier. So, 3 primes, 3 Superman films. It's all coming together. So again, and by this point, largely what's been seen as zero space, which was kind of orange, is now been contaminated, it's turning green. So again, we're continuing to sell that notion that the dark matrix is coming to do badness. So was there another hand at the back there, or was that just someone saying they love Superman 3? Yeah, go for it.
Which Transformers character have you enjoyed colouring the most?
It's probably Optimus Prime for one simple fact. His colours are straightforward, and I know exactly where all the bits go. Whenever someone would go, oh, by the way, More Than Meets the Eye or Lost Light is running really late, can you come in and colour it, please? I'd be like, yes, of course. You're running late, so I've got like 10 minutes to do all in. And they'd be like, right, so this character, this bit's white, and this is grey, this is a different shade of grey, and there's a stripe here that's red, and then they go, oh man, there are so many bits, and there are 45 characters on this page, and I have to know where all the bits go, and what colour all the greenies are, because otherwise people are going to get upset with me. So I would say Optimus Prime, because it's like, I know I could colour him in the dark, which some can argue I did. But again, it's so Optimus Prime for sure. I've got favourite characters, but Optimus is one of those ones. It's like he's just the muscle memory's there. Grimlock's close as well, but right. So I want to take us on to issue 0. So issue 0, to give you some background for this, was going to be and was illustrated by multiple people from different eras. So we were going to have Jeff Senior, we were going to have Jose Delbo from the original comic, we were going to have Jeff Anderson from Marvel UK, we were going to have Case at the end, oh, and we had Nick Roach kind of doing a Transformers the Movie style thing. Now I don't remember who it was who said, I think they should all be completely different colour styles. I feel like it was me, and Simon thinks that he answered it, but I think it's the kind of stupid thing that I would have done to myself. And it's important context that this issue was being coloured whilst I was on honeymoon. So, you know, and I said to John, I was like, is there any way that this could we have just a tiny extension on this one, and maybe have a little bit more time on it? He was like, yeah, no, sorry, it's got to come out on this date. But I can get someone to help fill in the colours if you want. I was like, you want someone other than me to colour Jeff? And I don't think so. If I have to go without sleep, I'll go without sleep. So anyway, one of the things I had to do was look at the old comics, and I'll talk about this a bit, and, you know, again, how much of it you can see from there. But the old comics were built up of, you know, lots and lots of little dots, which when viewed from far enough away kind of look like other colours. One thing I did in this scene was, so this is like seeing this story, which you saw a bit of in the UK book, but kind of then became canonical here. But I wanted to echo the style of the time. The style of the time was dots, and I wore an onion on my belt. So I tried to, wherever possible, echo where it came from. So in Regeneration 1, again, some people got very cross because Soundwave wasn't magenta anymore. But you know, it's been 20 years, he's had a coat of paint or two since. But whenever there was a flashback to the scenes that took place in that time, he was magenta. I did not erase the colour magenta from the Transformers universe. I just gave it a lick of paint. But one of the things I did in this story was, you might just be able to see it, Hot Rod is coloured in a modern style. He is outside of these events that he's witnessing. So again, he's an outsider. He's got these shines and things that the old book didn't have. And all of this is zip tone. Which is why when this Dark Matrix doodad emerges, there's just a hint that things are going wrong, because he's got a modern bit of glow just in his gob there. He's got a tiny little bit of modern colouring just in his mouth, which is our way of saying, ooh, is he crossing over maybe? Spoilers, he did. So these are the three styles that I used in the book. So I went for this quivering one here, which is kind of like, I tried to do it like it was watercolours, to try and mimic a little bit of Marvel UK, because it was a time period we had kind of seen, but I felt I could go, something that suited Jeff Anderson's style for that, so I had tons of fun doing a painted version. We had sort of old school, Nelson Yomtov, who was the colourist back in the day, would often use contrasting colours and solid blocks of colour to push your eye to look at certain things. So that's why we've got this pretty much just purple, blue and yellow there to sort of give you the sense of mood without being complicated or anything else. And lots of zip tones. We've got classic Car Wash of Doom reference there. And then we get to Nick Roach's kind of style doing Transformers the movie. And so to echo that, what I tried to do, most cartoons, anything that's got a black line around it tends to be the thing in front, and the stuff behind tends to be painted. So I tried to dull down all of the blacks in that so that the foreground stuff would pop more. So I tried to colour it more like I was colouring the actual cartoon. But hopefully you will also get the sense there are multiple time periods that you'll see. Again, whether you just picked it up and went, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It matters to me that this is right. And that's why I wanted to at least share it with you, so hopefully when you go back to the book, you'll go, okay, alright, I got the secret code. So I wanted to do an example. So this is the script from Brian Ruckley from an issue that I did. So this is what the description says. This is the flip side of the conversation between Optimus Prime and Hologram Megatron towards the end of TF41. Here we're in Megatron's throne room, and Optimus Prime is the hologram addressing Megs, who is 6 shot slipstream, Rat-Bat in attendance, looking on silently and attentively, and then we've got dying. Now, there is no information in there for the colorist. Okay, so whatever you do is whatever I think makes sense. So this is what Jack drew. Okay, this is Meg's throne room. There are a million ways this could go, and I went and actually coloured a different version of this so we could compare, just sort of say what story, what it does. So the first thing you always do as a colourist is you just put the flat colours down, just to say, what shapes exist. So here is just that, okay? A throne room, yeah? So a version I did just to say, so we could go, this is a sort of a cold, still sort of space. Okay, it's a quiet space. Maybe not very imposing, very still. Now, what I did, and what was nice was, Jack and I did a convention in Germany, and I'd just done this, and he was like, "I love what you did. It's exactly what I wanted you to do." He didn't tell me. But he said, but I knew you'd sort of do something with it. What I would say is the less that the artist puts in, I don't mean that in a bad way, but if you put lots, like heavy shadow in or whatever, it tells me, alright, well if the shadow's here, I have to make the light go this way because you've inked all this shadow in, I've got no choices. If they leave it fairly ambiguous, then it's up to me. I can make it dramatic, I can make it whatever. So my choice, Megatron's evil, he's a dictator, he's despotic, he should be menacing and imposing. So what I did was this. I wanted him to have a strong light from behind, I wanted him kind of lit up by it, I wanted it to feel almost hellish. I wanted him to feel like a threatening presence in that room. That's not in the script, but hopefully I'm helping everybody tell the story. I couldn't have done that if Jack hadn't given me the space by not over-inking. I couldn't, literally, I'm nothing without Jack. Is that true in every case? Yeah, why not? I'll think without you, Jack. Anyway, so the point is we make these choices, and Jack was really happy with that choice, thankfully. But you know, things like using these little gaps, these little slits in his chair to have these God rays come through and stuff, just to be like a striking thing. And again, when you watch films, you know, things like light, things like atmosphere, they're all choices made by the cinematographer, not necessarily the director. So I'm trying to light this scene like a cinematographer to try and tell the story that other people have started. And again, in terms of mood, so I deliberately picked some stuff that the nature of the beast is a lot of stuff I colour, you know, artists are not, if an artist ever says, do you know what, my work's pretty awesome and I'm amazing, then usually their work is rubbish. I'm kind of like, once in a while I'll okay, that turned out alright, that'll do. And there are a couple. I love this scene. I got to work with Casey, and again you can see his line work. There's no strong shadows, there's nothing forcing me to make any particular decisions, and it meant that I could go for this moody lighting, which kind of, you know, Jetfire's having a bit of a crisis of confidence, and having him in this environment, this dark environment, and him stepping out into the light as he's leaving it. I can tell that story because Casey gave me space to put something in. Right, I'm mindful of time. And another example, so it talks about place and distance. Again, one of the things I'm proudest of that I worked on, getting to do a cover based on pretty much one of my favourite issues of the old comic. But in this space, you've got this very cold foreground, this blue, sort of dead space where Optimus is grieving over the death of Scorpion. Spoilers. And in the background, you've got, you know, literally the devil. You've got this hot, fiery, you know, apocalypse in the background. And just this thing of these two spaces, and your eyes are probably drawn here first because it's the hottest, the brightest thing on the page, and then you come down to rest on, oh, okay. So we've got these two stories, and that's how I felt when I read the book, was you have this really emotional, quiet moment, you know, did I do good? And all of this action in the background. And so I was trying to echo how that book made me feel. And just to say, back in the day, this was as many colours as they had. And they built these up, it's quite hard to see, but they're built up of lots of dots. And they would have these colour codes. Someone would go and paint every issue, page of Transformers, and then they would label them up and say, okay, Optimus Prime is 100% red, and, you know, Scorponok is red, blue 3, and they would literally, like a puzzle, piece it together, and they would hand cut out little things of dots and stick them to pages, and they'd get overlaid on top of each other to create the colours that we know and love. So kind of like this, when you look at a flesh-coloured person in the old book, you've got here a magenta dot and a yellow dot that are slightly overlapping, which makes a little bit of red, and then you've got the white space in between. And when you zoom out, that becomes the sort of the flesh colour that they used in most of Transformers and most of Marvel for 60 years. So when I did Transformers 84, where it was actually we want this to look like it fits into the original book, I had to go and look up. All right, well, how did they make a shockwave back then? How did they get that perfect? So I had to like scan in the comics at the biggest resolution I could possibly get to figure out that perfect little makeup of dots. And just to say, and I used a lot of the techniques that were used in the old book. Characters would get dropped to one colour because the focus on this panel is here. And the red hopefully gives you a sense that there's a threat to him in this panel, but your eye is pulled into that. the fact that you don't know which of the seekers that is sort of irrelevant. And again, so I try to use a lot of the same decisions that were made. So there are backgrounds which are white. Optimus Prime is solid blue and solid red and everything else. The scraplets appear in pink, so again, thrown to kind of one colour when they're being attacked by the scraplets. But I use white, lots of white and empty spaces, the way that the old book did, but solid colours. The use of solid colours for characters was not a mistake. It was not Neil Yontov in a rush. It was designed to bring your focus to where it's supposed to be on the page. Because if you did every bit on every Transformer in old school colours, it would be a mess. It would be like looking at a kaleidoscope. So what I wanted to do, there are a couple of ways to make a Dynamot grey. Now anyone who's ever done a painting would go, how do you make grey?
Black and white.
Black and white, of course you do. No, not in comics. So, because you can't just paint it on, and if you use black dots spaced apart, it doesn't end up looking grey. So, Grimlock's leg, as we zoom in here, oh, hang on. There we go. There we are. So, do I get closer than that? I do. There you go. So, Grimlock's leg, yeah, is a magenta dot overlaid with a yellow dot, overlaid with a blue dot, all slightly offset, so that there's still also some white, but when you zoom out, it kind of looks grey. Now, and the weird thing is, if I chose any other way of making his grey, instinctively your brain would go, that doesn't look right. There's a Dynamot grey, and I had to find out what it was. So they're looking at it going, why does Grimlock look so weird? Why does it not look right? There's something setting off my spider senses. So my final thing, I think, which means I'm doing well on time here, is I wanted to, so this is a cover that I did again, one of the few I'm like, yes, I think I did a good enough, actually I deserve to be paid for this one. So this was a cover for that last run of IDW verse books. Now again, so this is flatted, so it's black and white, and I put these flat colours on just so I know what the bits of the characters are. Now I've got lots of choices here. Is this a happy moment? Is it a dark moment? Is it a moody moment? Is it going to be shiny? Are they going to have shiny metal on them? What are they going to be? All of that is up for grabs. So it's hard to say how I make the decision. You just kind of go, I think this will work. Again, so Casey's line work, Ed's line work, Jack's line work, Nick's line work. There's lots of people. Their line work leaves lots of interpretation space. So, you know, there's not a line of ink indicating that whether this character is shiny or not or whatever. There's nothing there. So it's up to me to decide how I want to render it. So the first thing I do, again, is it possible just to turn these lights off a second, just so it's like easy to see. Look at that. Let there be darkness. I always start with shadow. Where's the light coming from? So where's the light coming from in the scene? So this one I wanted to be moody. So they are mostly in shadow. Okay, there's little bits of light being picked up. So I'm trying to suggest the light is coming down like this. So that was my first thing. Right, that's what I want. I want a moody scene because they look cool. They should be cool. And then, hang on. Yeah. So it's hard to tell the difference. I'm going to turn it on and off. The next thing I did was, in real life, light comes from more than one place. Okay, and it's really important with colouring so that it doesn't look flat. So I've got this light source here, but a lot of this on the other side is hard to see. So I'm going to switch it on. There's this red light. Somewhere off this panel is a little dim red light that is just picking up the edges of their arm, sides of their face, just picking up the details. And then we have the stronger lights, so you can see if we turn them on and off. That's where the strong light is coming from, and it's just picking up the edges of them, so it gives them a sense of shape and space. And then finally, their eyes light up, and I put in the main light source for where that's coming from. So again, I'll do 5 minutes of this, okay, just for time. But it sets the mood, so hopefully what you feel when you look at this is like, I don't know, they're in a tunnel or an entryway to something, but they're kind of like, yeah, we're cool dudes, we know we're cool. But I did an alternate version, so I did it, I thought, well, that's what it would look like, you know, sunny day, shiny robots, you know, it tells a completely different story. I didn't want to do that, I did that just for you, but that's what I went for, was that one. But it's just to show the difference, you know, this has got that liquid kind of cell shading look on it, which I do love, but I wanted the mood, I wanted an atmosphere to that. And then, just at the end, these are just, I did for fun, which is some of the old comics that I decided I would not do a super modern take on, but just for fun, colour them up, being respectful of the old stuff, but some new techniques. So, yeah, just, so things like getting rid of the black line on them, just so that they push more into the background, just little minor tweaks and things. So, Action Master Print I love, so I've got to colour that page. And then that one. So, not a million miles different from what was done in the past. Some like gradients, slightly more shadow, and glows and stuff like that. Anyway, just for fun, that's me. Do you questions, yeah? Awesome, thank you very much. Questions, yes. I'm going to pause this, hang on, because it's telling me I should chill out now. I don't know how to turn it on. Be fine. We'll ignore it. Yes.
Testing. Hi, JP.
Hello.
Okay, love it. I especially like the pointillism on dots. So cool, really nice.
I don't need your pity.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot. Let's hope there's no inkers here yet, like Nick or anyone. Whose artwork do you like inking and colouring, sorry, the best?
So to be honest, I've been really fortunate that I feel like I've worked with almost everybody, and I've loved them all. What I will say is, the only thing I don't like, this is not a case, is when I start working with someone new, it takes me a little while to get into the rhythm of what works. I can't do like what I would do on an Andrew page, on a Jeff page, on a Marcelo page. So the first time I do anybody's work from you, I'm always there going, I don't like this, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm a fraud. But I would say artists that leave that scope, so Casey, Ed, Jack, anyone that gives me room to interpret and bring my own, that we're working as a team and not you do my bidding, boy. And I'm fortunate that most of the people I work with are like, I want to see what you know, go for it. I don't know if I have a specific favourite. I mean, I think for me working on Andrew and Jeff's stuff, I mean, I spent my life dreaming of working with, so that holds a special place in my heart. But you know, I'm fortunate that people like Ed and Casey and Jack, they are people who I love, you know, and Nick and everyone. So and Alex and whatever. So I just feel blessed all the time. I know it's a really, not really a straight, but it's true. It's like I just, whenever I get a chance to work with any of them, I'm like giddy like a schoolgirl. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah. Oh, no, start at the back. Sorry, you're close to the mic. We'll work our way forward. I want to make you run.
Hello.
Hello.
Is there any white characters that you wish you could recolour, like Shatterglass Thundercracker that looks like a beautiful rainbow?
So, yes, there's quite a few Shattered Glass characters I would have chosen. I definitely wouldn't have chosen Shattered Glass Shockwave. I wouldn't have chosen Yellow for him. I'd have probably chosen something more interesting. But not really. Sometimes if I got to choose the colours, I would make them quite simple. If you look at the characters who are iconic, Optimus Prime is 2 main colours and a third. Megatron is 2 main colours and a third. Most of the characters are 2 main with an accent. And as time's gone on, it's like there's 45 colours on this character, and it just becomes, you know, you've got to bear in mind, just remembering those deadlines. Those nice simple characters when you're running late and you're not having to go, right, I've got to look through 48 pages of a book to find out what this greebly here on certain characters' back is. So, because people notice if you get it wrong, and you don't. Like I want to make people happy. So anyway, so there was a question there. So what about was yes?
Yeah, my question is, how do you keep colors consistent across the different pages and issues? Like, have you got a special file with all the color schemes, or do you just go by eye, or have you got another technique?
Oh no, so what I tend to do is, so when you do the flats, when you just put the solid colours on, what I tend to do is have an old page up. And it depends, so like with Regeneration 1, a lot of the stuff I looked at, I had like the More Than Meets the Eye guides, you know, or Transformers Universe I should say. So I tried to be consistent with that. But once I'd chosen a colour, I would look at the last time I did that character and make sure that they were flat the same. And with Regen, I was fortunate that I might have had 4 or 5 pages done, so I'd just go and colour Grimlock in every page, then work my way through the primes and whatever else. But yeah, I tried to keep it consistent. Sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes, you know, Ultra Magnus's shoulder cannon was, you know, inverted or something, because, you know, I've had no sleep for 6 months, and sometimes these things get by you. But I try to keep it consistent. So yes, sorry. Okay, I promise you. Okay, I'm not going to lead you on.
Hi there. Ooh.
What do you do?
Back to the start, you were saying about time crunches, getting notes from the higher-ups. Between Transformers and all the other titles you've done now, you've worked with a lot of big companies, Hasbro, Sega and such. Have you ever had, from one of these companies, any particular memorable or unusual notes come back to you, requests on the colours?
Yeah, I mean, I would say more so in writing, and I probably, the statute of limitations hasn't expired on some. I did once have a note for a book that was running late, mind. There was a character that appeared in a panel, this big, and they were in the background, okay, and one of their essential notes that had to be dealt with before it could go to print was, this character should be wearing lipstick. And I'm like, you need a magnifying glass and the will of a titan to see that individual, but oh fine, I'll go in there and colour that for you. So there's been a few like that. It's not normally a problem. I mean, sometimes, you know, I've made a mistake and that's fine. And sometimes the people giving the notes don't understand storytelling or colour or how the days of the week work. And you'll end up with notes. You know, the worst writing note I ever had was character in an alley in panel 1, character at the end of the alley in panel 2, and one of the notes was, how did you get from here to there? And I'm like, if I have to explain to you how perambulant walking exists between the panels, like, I feel like we have bigger problems than the alleyway. But yes, so, not too bad. Hasbro, I think once in 10 years went, can you edit something? And it was fine. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. You mentioned sort of elements in the background that aren't as important in the inks, to fade those out a little
Yeah.
bit more. More of a question between like traditional and digital, coloring and stuff. Is that basically how you create a depth of field effect, and you also like bring stuff into focus?
Yeah, so as I say, you can do it with colour, so you know, the background might be red, the foreground might be blue, and other times, in modern colouring, you try and strip out anything that's black. So solid black is just in the foreground, and then the background you use colour to drop some of that darkness back. And I think
That's it.
that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Did we all learn something?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any clue what he does?
Yeah.
And how he does it? Good, you know more than I do. Give JP a massive round of applause. And apparently I'm supposed to apologise because it was my alarm that went off. So I am sorry about that. Right.
Thank you, JP. That was really great. We will be back in just a couple of minutes where a few of the TFN backstage crew, including myself, will be taken to the stage to talk to you a little bit about uncovering a little bit of lost media. We'll be back very shortly. Thank you.
Vamos a ver, sim.